Hi guys, coming to you from outside today because it's too nice to be inside, so I thought I would vlog to you from outside. So, what do I want to talk about today? I want to talk about the idea that everything happens for a reason. And at the time that it happens, we don't know what that reason is. And we don't have to know, because there's going to come a point in your healing where hindsight will allow you to look back with a bit more clarity. Oh, this had to be because of this. So, what I want to share with you is my aha, that's why it happened moment. Um, at the time of my stroke, I was 24 weeks pregnant with my daughter, and I had an 8-year-old son, and I had a 2.5-year-old son. So what I want to share with you is the fact that our son Noah was born prematurely, and he was what they call an explosive birth. So he suffered birth trauma, which caused him to have seizures as an infant. So this seizure disorder led my husband and I to take infant CPR courses. In doing that, I realized that I wanted to help others, not just my son. So I took it a step further and took an EMT course and became an EMT basic, and worked on our volunteer squad local. And so I ended up knowing what was going on with me the day I started having symptoms of my stroke. I was a chronic migraine sufferer, started like when I was 15 on. And that morning, when I got to work as a cook at my son's school, it started with my hearing going a little wonky on me, and I brushed it off as my ears probably just needed to pop. And then I got the most intense headache I've ever had, and I remember thinking that rather than, oh God, something's really wrong, I remember thinking, great, I've got to work all day with this migraine. But when my lips started to go numb, I knew I was in trouble. I knew something was seriously wrong, and I decided that I needed to make my way out of the kitchen, and definitely out of the cafeteria, away from all of these kids. And typically the nurses were not in that early in the morning. It was like 20 minutes of 8, but I needed to try. And I was making my way out of the cafeteria, and my niece approached me and said, I'm going to see my bio dad tonight. And I said to her, that's nice. And then I said to myself, keep your brain active. And so, as I walked away from her and made my way to the nurse's office, I continued to repeat out loud, that's nice, over and over, all the way to the nurse's office. And the looks I got from teachers that I encountered along the way were like I had 3 heads or something. But when I got to the nurse's office, not only were both of them there, but standing right outside of their office was the computer teacher, who was also an EMT. And when I walked to the nurse's office door and I turned in, and they took one look at me, and they just looked like they had seen a ghost. And I just said to them, I have a really bad headache and I can't hear very well. And now this is where it kind of gets comical in the way I thought, in my thinking. Terry grabbed me by the shoulders and kind of like just turned me and set me down. And I thought that there was like a seizure trigger or button on my butt, because it was like the minute I sat, the minute my rear end hit that chair, I started seizing. And my world went black. But I knew I was having a seizure. I knew, and I immediately thought of my son Noah. I immediately started begging, oh God, please, I hope it wasn't like this for him. Please, please God, this is so scary. And then I started praying for my baby. I was 24 weeks pregnant. And I said, whatever happens to me, I accept. But please, please save this baby. And the rest of that day was, I was in and out of consciousness. But always when I was conscious, I was aware of what was being done, who was there doing it. And at one point, I heard Terry talking to the 911 operator and telling her that I was having seizures. And I screamed out, no, I'm having a stroke. And then she continued on this seizure thing, and I kept thinking, why are you, I'm telling you I'm having a stroke. I found out later that my brain was saying words, that my brain was saying I'm having a stroke. My mouth, on the other hand, was just squealing and grunting. There were no words. So that was my contribution. I remember certain things of that day that will always resonate with me, like it's like having this logical mind that knows everything that's going on and what needs to be done, but not being able to do it. Like looking up and seeing Tom with an oropharyngeal airway and shaking his head no, and I'm questioning it. Why can't you use it? And then my logical brain said, oh my God, your airway must be compromised. And then within, it seemed like seconds of that realization, the burning, crushing pain in my chest that let me know I wasn't breathing. And that was really hard for me that day, because there were times like when I saw the suction catheter and thought, wait, I can't be vomiting. I don't feel it. And that realization that things are happening that I can't feel, that I'm not aware of. And the scary part was like coming in and out of consciousness was like you were never aware that you had gone unconscious until you were floating back to consciousness. And it was such a weird feeling, and you didn't know how long you were going to have it. And so I got really scared, not knowing if there was going to be a moment when I went into this darkness where there was nothing. I was not aware that I was in the darkness. There was nothing, no voices, no nothing. It was just dark. And you don't know you're in the dark until you're coming out of the dark. So it was that realization that you could slip back into it at any time, and there was no guarantee that you were going to resurface. And every time I resurfaced, it seemed that I was coming to a realization of something else that was more frightening. My clothes being cut off and questioning it, because it was my brain, it wasn't my body, there was no injury. Or coming to and seeing the letters ICU on a wall and going, okay, intensive care unit, it's not good. But not knowing that you had been life-flighted to a hospital almost 200 miles away. And that realization didn't come to me until I came out of the darkness to see the flight crew walking out of my room in their flight suits. And being an EMT and training on how to set up a landing pad for them, I knew that it was Dartmouth. I knew that it was DART that had come to get me. So I knew it was really bad because my hospital couldn't handle whatever was wrong. And then there came a realization. I don't even want to say it was that Thursday, because I think that Thursday it was just, I was confused. I was scared. I was in and out, and I didn't have a grip on what was happening. I didn't even know at that point my deficits, because I was so hyper-focused on the baby. Is the baby okay? And I couldn't ask the questions of anyone. I couldn't speak. I had no voice. I didn't understand at that point that I had been intubated and that I was on a ventilator. I had no idea. But there was so much about that day that my training warned me, like the oropharyngeal airway warned me, so I knew when the pain came in my chest that I was not breathing. I knew at that, and I knew when I saw the suction catheter that I was vomiting, and I had an idea that I couldn't feel it. And that kind of prepared me for waking the next morning with no feeling from the neck down, with no ability to move anything from my neck down. And so I guess it's very important that I let you all know that there's going to come a moment in your recovery, and I hope it's sooner rather than later. I really do. There's going to come a moment that you are going to be able to reflect with hindsight as part of the healing process. When you've reached that point where you're going to look back at this and say, okay, this happened for a reason. So what I'm asking you to do is to find your reason. That this happened to me maybe so that I would be here in this moment speaking to all of you. I would be here in this moment being a voice maybe for some that haven't got it back yet, or some that may not get it back but can hear my words and say yes, that, and maybe find a way to communicate that that's what they're feeling or what they're going through, so that they can find a way to let their caregivers know how they're handling things and how they can help them. Because I want there to be a purpose for my stroke, and I want to find that purpose. I want to believe that I've been chosen to help in some way, because as an EMT I did it because I wanted to help. And if this stroke is going to happen, then God, let me be a vessel of help. Let me help somebody else who's going through this not feel alone, not feel like there's no one out there that understands, because I understand, and I know that there's a whole host of people out there that have gone through everything that I've gone through, some even worse, and they just need to know they're not alone, and they just need to know that someone understands. And there are going to be some stories that I'm going to share with you that the one thing I tried to never lose was my humor. And I might have been a troublemaker in rehab. I don't know. Some say I was, but oh well. You know, that's what you get for sticking me in a room with a 79-year-old. I just want you all to know that you have a friend here. Subscribe. Leave a comment. Leave questions. Anything you want me to hit on, let me know and I'll try. Because nothing about these past 17 years has been easy. It's all been worth it, but it hasn't been easy. And our family has struggled. And we didn't always get along. And I'll be the first to say I was a very angry survivor for a long time. That I was bitter and I felt gypped for a long time. I felt like I got the short end of the stick and it wasn't fair. And that life wasn't fair. And that I was stuck in this body that I didn't want. But there came a day when the light was turned on in my mind and said, wait, you're not a victim. You're still alive. You're here. Do you want, if it was your child, would you want to see your child give up on life? What would you want your child to do? And so I decided I would want my child to be an advocate. I would want my child to be the strongest survivor they could be. I would want them to not pity themselves and to just find the purpose and use it. So that's what I'm going to do. I am going to record videos, and some are going to be funny maybe, some are not. They're going to be real. Everything that you're going to get from me is going to be genuine. So, like I said, subscribe, come back, you know, and hey, if you guys really want me to, and those of you that don't get snow, I might even come outside and sit on the deck in the winter so you can see the beauty of Vermont at its finest. But have a great day and God bless.